Hello and welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Christy and I am here with the astrology of February the 5th through the 11th. We have a very dynamic week ahead. It's one of those weeks where there's a lot of potential on the way, and I would even say we're looking at this as potential energy as we head into a week of the Lunar New Year. So this is a week where we have an ode to the past, but we also are looking towards the future. So last week, if things seemed slow or beneath the surface, or say you had some movement last week, but it was just kind of not as fruitful, or, you didn't get the answers that you wanted, this is a week ahead where there is potential for these answers. There's hope ahead. There's energy being cleared from us all. So I want to say that. And I also want to apologize up front. I made a TikTok about it, but I stated and made a prediction that the groundhog would see his shadow and there would be 6 more weeks of winter. That was not the case. The groundhog did not see his shadow this year. And so let's see what happens if the groundhog was right and we have an early spring this year. Who knows? But as we head into this week, I want to also discuss the aspects and transits of the week ahead. So we start off the week with Mercury entering the sign of Aquarius, and this is on Monday, February the 5th. So Mercury is going to take on a more cerebral and a bit of a quirkier energy. There is a Saturnic element to the sign of Aquarius as well. But this is a time where when Mercury, our mind, enters Aquarian realms, we're going to be thinking about things that are outside of the box, that are revolutionary. So we're going to be looking at matters that are going to be taking us into the future. And I think it's also very symbolic that this is a week where the lunar energy herself is going through a cleansing process. So I want to note this up top as the week starts out, because as soon as Mercury enters Aquarius, this gets us set up for a conjunction between Mercury and Pluto. So our mind and our transformative experience are aligned. And I think that this is a really interesting start to the week that will also be ending with a new moon in Aquarius. So this week is Aquarian-tastic, but I also want to say that this week has aspects related to the Sun in Aquarius semi-sextile to Venus in Capricorn. So semi-sextile means either there are a direct 30 degree apart or sign by sign. So we can look at it as Capricorn is neighbor to Aquarius, or we can look at a semi-sextile as a 30 to 30 degree apart aspect. With the Sun semi-sextile to Venus in Capricorn, I like that Aquarius and Capricorn are neighbors because both have a way of getting things done. It's just in their own way. And oftentimes you'll meet somebody with Capricorn that has Aquarian planets, or an Aquarius with Capricorn planets. But with the Sun, which is our directive action energy, and Venus, our creative energy, kind of in this aspect opening up the week, and we have Mercury conjunct Pluto, and on the same day, the Sun is sextile, meaning think of this as friendship sign, to Chiron in Aries, and then also we have Venus square to Chiron in Aries. So think of this as this very interesting weaving of aspects right here. It's very funny how they're all interplaying. Chiron in Aries is interplaying with the Sun and Venus, as well as the Sun, Venus. And then we have, I think, with the great ability or skill to really decipher is this Mercury-Pluto conjunction. Because we're being asked again, and this is a theme, and we're seeing this as, a collective societal theme of generational trauma healing. Knowledge of what, say, a trauma bond is. Knowledge of, say, I'm in a class right now where we're focusing on the mother wound and the fact that we are coming out of our grandmothers and our grandmothers, and we share the same womb, essentially genetically as the mothers before us. So it's just very interesting, when we're literally looking at the wounded healer, Chiron, in Aries, and we're going to see in the weeks to come a pivotal connection between the North Node and Chiron. And I spent a good part of today listening to some two astrologers' takes on the upcoming conjunction between Chiron and the North Node. But right now, I think that this week and this new moon is really opening up an inner dialogue for these Chiron wounds within us to find a place to, whether it's come to peace or come to terms with the fact that we can't change the past, that we can't change some of the things that have happened in either the near history, genetic history, or even, say, when we look at historical situations in the present, we can't change what has happened, but we can change who we are now. And I think Mercury conjunct Pluto opening up the week gives us this knowledge of saying, you know what, I fucked up in the past. I fucked up this, and this. And I have some reflection questions written on this as well. But what can you do right now as the person you are listening to this? Whether you listen to this far later on, who knows what transit has led you to this episode, or right here in the present, getting ready for this week ahead in 2024. So I want to say the 5th, as we open up the week, is a very nice day to really look at a more communal energy, a more expansive approach to, say, difficulties that held us back in the past. And I also want to say, this is part of the reflection questions for the new moon, but I want to also point out that between December 2021 and January of 2022, we did experience a very poignant square between Saturn, who was in Aquarius at the time, and Uranus, who's still in the sign of Taurus. It's not part of this moon's lineage, but when I was meditating on what I wanted to say in this episode, the Saturn square Uranus energy was like right at the forefront of my meditation. So I'm going to focus on that as I go through this podcast episode as well. On February the 6th, we actually have some asteroid transits. So we have Pallas Athena, the goddess of wisdom, entering the sign of Sagittarius. Now, when I look at the asteroids, I missed an asteroid aspect this past weekend, which was a conjunction between Juno and Lilith. It's not my specialty, but I will say it's Juno and Lilith are in the sign of Virgo. So I do find it very interesting that, over the weekend and during football season, there's been a lot of upheavals regarding, women's roles in society and the roles that women play in even just the public. So in the last week, there 2 weeks, there was Hiss by Megan Thee Stallion that was released, and she's pointing out some pretty big stuff when it comes to Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj released one of the biggest female hip-hop rap albums of all time this year, and there's been, a rap battle between the two, Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not really going to get into that because I have my own opinions about the song Hiss, and I think, I'm going to keep that in my own mind because, there are things pointed out in that song. So I just want to say that. But I'm a fan of both of Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. But it's interesting, as we saw over the weekend, a conjunction and alignment between Lilith and Juno being like the good wife asteroid, quote unquote, and Lilith being like, I don't give a middle finger to that at all. When they met in the sky in the sign of Virgo, which is a sign of like the good wife in many ways, or like the perfectionist, it's just interesting to see where the collective conversation has gone regarding women in power, women holding their own in business, in society. And so now that I'm seeing that Pallas Athena, who's the goddess of wisdom, is entering the sign of Sagittarius, the philosopher, this is the feminine energy expressing herself from a very strong stance. So we might start to see even more women speaking up, against the system or towards a better system while we're in, Aquarius season, which is, the alt society. Like, Aquarius has nothing to do with the old ways. And I'm going to keep on saying that because we're seeing societal evolution. We're seeing some sort of, collective renaissance, some awakening, and you have to really truly be that ostrich right now to not see what's going on. So I think it's also very symbolic that on the 6th of February, Miss Athena is saying, you know what, I'm going to go into a fire sign right now. As well as on the 6th, we have Venus, the goddess of love, in Capricorn. She's square the north and south node. So we have squares to Chiron, we have squares to the nodes with Venus, and this is our heart really, with Venus in Capricorn, it can be tough because you feel this strong sense of responsibility, and you feel this strong sense of needing to be there, the rock almost for everybody. And a lot of feminine energy, those who are aligning with the feminine energy, or those who are connecting to their feminine energy this week, this is a call to stay as grounded as possible amongst the angst. I'm not going to say that there's chaos this week, but there's definitely this friction. There's definitely this energy of like trying to make things happen, but having to really allow the universe to universe. There's a lot of saying, hey, universe, like, I have these goals, I have these intentions, I have this big vision, but I have put out, I've trusted my glitter. I've put out my glitter. I've said, this is what I need. This is where I need to go. This is the job I need to get. This is, the creative path that I'm taking. This is, where I want to take myself. But there's a lot of faith that goes on into this week as well. On the 6th, we also have the Sun in Aquarius sextile the North Node. So we're leaning in to this energy of, I would say it's a pattern, right? We're looking at patterns here. We're looking at our authority, our inner authority, how that reflects on community, and how that also reflects on our personal requirements to evolve. So this is a theme here, but with Chiron involved at the top of the week, Pluto involved at the top of the week, this isn't for the faint of heart. So this week is really kind of gnawing at things that we really want to fix in our life. But remember, things take time. They don't happen overnight. Overnight success takes years. It takes years for us to really understand what we're doing and where we're going. It was hard for me to record this podcast today. That's why it's probably out a little bit later, because I took so many notes. I looked at all the charts I could. I read up on, what this Lunar New Year is bringing us. And still, I catgut my tongue as soon as it came down to recording today, because it was like, how do I add to people's week? How do I allow, what I know regarding astrology to really help those who are listening. You know, this is not a journey that we're on that's easy. We're all given these assignments. And sometimes, you know, especially like a lot of writers, comedians, or mainly my audience, especially women, or women, we're trying to find our way, build our business, do the thing. I'm still in process to doing that. I know that this is a long process to understanding, you know, how to create a podcast from scratch. It's been a lot of trial and error and still is. And the experimentation that goes on with creating can be a messy process. And in the season of Aquarius with Venus and Capricorn, there can be a little bit of a hard on yourself, like, oh my gosh, why is this not done yet? You know? So I want to caution people, like this week, you can lean into that side of like, oh my God, why am I not doing this yet? Why is this not here yet? And it's symbolic as well because we have another asteroid. This time it's Ceres entering the sign of Capricorn on the 7th. So while we're working with Venus, who's still transiting the sign of Capricorn, this healing asteroid Ceres enters Capricorn and says, you know what, let's soften a little bit here. Like, Capricorn, we know you're the goat climbing the mountain. You have to be the best. You're going to toil and take your time and work really hard. But as Ceres enters Capricorn on the 7th, we also have Venus trine Uranus. So we've had these squares with Venus on the 5th and 6th. We had a square with Chiron. We had a square with the North Node. And now we get a beautiful energy of softening on the 7th, which I really like. I like that Venus in her Earth sign and Uranus in a Venusian-ruled sign of Taurus are saying, okay, expand, allow, appreciate. And there's a miracle that can come through there. It might even just be understanding inside your heart that there's still so much to do on this journey, but at least you're doing it, you know? And on the same day, we have Mars sextile to Neptune. So Mars is at 25 degrees Capricorn, Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces. So again, I really love this element. There's a softening element to that. There's, even with Mars and Capricorn, who's a hustler, you know, that's that energy of grind and coffee and like all those things that you see at, like, I don't know, Bed Bath & Beyond doesn't exist anymore, so what's the next thing next to that? I don't know. But you see like those like coffee towels and they're like, I wake up on my coffee grind. That's Mars and Capricorn. And the Neptune, who is like our wishes and our dreams in Pisces, is saying, well, you're on your coffee grind, but at least can we have a gratitude journal there? Can we at least like appreciate ourselves a little bit more? So I like that. And then on the 8th, so we've had Vesta in retrograde, and Vesta's been in retrograde since November, and so Vesta is going direct at 21 degrees of Gemini. And so with Vesta direct at 21 degrees of Gemini, I think this is also symbolic that, you know, we've had Pallas Athena enter Sagittarius, we've had Ceres enter the sign of Capricorn. Vesta represents that warm home and hearth, but in the sign of Gemini can feel a little aloof and detached. So there even might be people listening where you haven't really felt like you were at home at all where you're at. You could have a home, you could be working and traveling for work. There could be a lot of things that are going on where you just really haven't felt like sunk in and really embodied in yourself. And I really like that Vesta's, I'm looking at this more symbolically, that Vesta's taking a step forward and being like, you know what? I'm moving forward with this energy and I'm allowing myself to at least think about the possibility of what a more nurturing space could be. And this is like a physical space for yourself. And then on February 9th, we have a new moon in Aquarius at 20 degrees. This takes place at 5:59 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. Now, I'm going to do a little ASMR here because I have a journal full of many, many notes regarding this Lunar New Year, because this Lunar New Year has so much symbolism. So I'm going to start and just say the Lunar New Year brings us into the year of the dragon, and that is the year of the wood dragon. And this is about being able to be malleable and strong in the face of adversity. I'm not an expert on Chinese astrology, but I want to acknowledge the Lunar New Year and just say that this is quite a fantastic year, and that I love how synchronistic all realms of astrology are between Vedic, that looks at the North and South Node as a dragon, the Rahu Ketu aspect, the head and the tail of the dragon, and then also the fact that we have a lot of energy squaring Chiron this week between Venus and Chiron, and looking at the symbolism of Chiron this week. And then as we go through February, how Chiron's going to play a pretty big role, in my opinion, in 20, I would argue, because of the eclipses, that Chiron is playing a very large role in 2024. And so I'm also looking at this from the perspective of, this Lunar New Year is bringing us a lot of messages from the North Node. This is a time to really say, I am doing this because I am stepping into, fill in the blank, my sovereignty, my autonomy, my direction, my individualism, which is also, very Aries. But I would also say Aquarian in certain ways, because Aquarius, yes, is collective love, collective energy, collective we. But Aquarius does stand out because of that, because it's not that Aquarius merges with the we. Aquarius is this unique energy that doesn't try to stand out, just is standing out for being themselves. I'm sure you can think of your Aquarian friends and how they can walk into a room and they're just an energy that people gravitate towards. It's just part of being an Aquarius. So when we're looking at this lunar energy this week, this is also saying, welcome to the Lunar New Year. Our solar New Year will be in March when the sun enters the sign of Aries. But with this Lunar New Year at 20 degrees Aquarius, the Sabian symbol is a white dove bearing a message. So this is setting us up to say the first new moon of 2024 is saying, hey, there's some peaceful message on the way. With all the chaos going on in the world, with all the disunity, here's a uniting message of some kind. There's a bearer of news here that is bringing us inspiration, that is saying, hey, I have something to say, and it's for everybody to know. It's for everybody to understand, no matter what's going on in the world, we all have this power within ourselves to create a better humanity. That is the message of the new moon. Now, she, as a lunar body, is square to Uranus in Taurus, which is a callback to me. So there's so many callbacks in a lunar lineage. Every moon has its own lineage, every moon cycle. But when I was talking earlier about December of 2021 through January of 2022, Now, this is just from an intuitive level because I'm thinking about the Saturn-Uranus squares. It did not take place with this new moon. It is not part of this moon's lineage. But I just want to call back to that because, Mars and Venus are still in Capricorn. They're still in Saturnic, deep, deep Saturn energy, where Aquarius is Uranian, which is more like, just kind of like let's shift society, and also Saturnic. So some of the reflection questions I want to ask are, remember what was going on in your life between December of 2021, especially towards the back end of December 2021 and January of 2022. What was going on in your personal life then? Deeply reflect. And this could be in terms of like health, wealth, inspiration, maybe the overall goals going on in your life, or significant relationships in your life, family, romantic partners in your life, situationships with partners in your life, other things that were transpiring in society. Think about how that was directly affecting you. It could be career, it could just be wellness stuff that was happening. If you were having even like weird aches and pains, things like that. Really think and deeply reflect on what was going in your life back then. Because right now you're having a new moon that's giving you an ability not to change the past. I was talking earlier, you can't change the past. We cannot as a collective change our history. We cannot as a collective go and say, hey, there's been mass genocide, there's been slavery, there's been, so many things that have been done in society, but we can change ourselves right now. And there's a nice, beautiful sextile between the North Node Chiron and this new moon, which is saying, yep, let's take this direction with action. There's actions that need to happen, whether it's you want to get into charity work, advocacy, create a business for yourself to help something that happened to you. And what I think is going to happen with these eclipses, that's why this podcast exists. It's because I want to figure out how to make astrology more empowering. And also, while I'm working out my Chiron wounds, where my Chiron wounds are in the sign of Gemini. So with this Chiron energy speaking to this new moon, we're going to be taking our Chiron wounds over the next year. Especially, it's going to be highlighted in April. And we're going to take that shit and turn it into gold. We're going to be fucking Chiron alchemists here. But this new moon is saying, okay, what does your wound mean for a bigger story? So I'm gonna fuck up names. I'm probably gonna fuck up some facts here. But there's a TikTok video of a lady in Florida. And her name is Miranda. It's like a viral video right now. And she was fired by a company. I won't say the company's name here, but you can look up Miranda, Florida, fired, and you'll probably see that video. But she was like at a restaurant. They may or may not serve delivery pizza. And, there's like 3 major delivery pizza companies in the United States at this time. And it's one of those 3. So she was fired from this company. And it was for no freaking reason, right? She was never written up. She was one of their best employees. And in fact, she was a community leader. She was somebody who helped so many people. She had Thanksgiving meals on her own dime for the community and for people that were homeless and needed food. She delivered, food to schools. She did all these things and was fired for no reason. And, I'm a huge TikTok fan, and I've definitely seen a lot of trending videos regarding the current job market, especially in the United States. And so as I'm watching her video and seeing the details that are involved into why she was, possibly fired, there's a follow-up video. And the follow-up video is just a direct interview with Miranda. And, she says she wants to open her own business and help people in the area that she lives in, and feed people and basically, have a shelter for people to stay at. And my thought process was like, this is a terrible story where this woman has taken the shit that she was given and she's going to turn it into gold. There's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel here. But the feeling of what she went through where, we're watching a shift in capitalism where a major corporation can be like, allegedly, maybe then they didn't want to pay her vacation hours out that she accumulated over, I believe it was like 12 or 13 years that she was there. I believe it was 13 years. And she accumulated many hours. I allegedly believe that that is probably a factor, that she was worth so much that the company couldn't afford her anymore. But instead of saying, you're just too good for this company and we can't pay you, they let her go and made her feel like shit while they let her go. And I've seen many videos like this where it's like people who are diehard workers for their company are let go for no reason. And it's nothing new. There's so many places like Buffalo, New York, who, was built on the backbone of certain factories and let their workers go for no reason. And that area, that economy dried up very quickly, And so this gets into a shift in what this Aquarian energy is doing for an age. It can take us back further, this moon. She can take us into December of 2020. She can take us into so many different places. But I would like to say that the focus here with this reflection is to take us into 2021, into 2022. How can we heal and grow from there? Because we're being given a gift here. We're being given a message here with this Lunar New Year. And I think it's interesting with the numerology of 2024 and being the year of the dragon, we are looking at this element of strength between the Leo lion with the number 8, the dragon, the fire breathing, that fire breath energy, the dragon being that earth, that deep earth energy as well. I believe the element of the dragon is earth. If I got that wrong, please let me know. And so there is a doorway to strength here, like we've never experienced, I feel, when I look at the chart of this new moon. But that's when it leads to potential energy. That's when I look at and say, there's all the potential, but the reality is we've got to take this potential and take those steps. And I listen to a lot of motivational speakers that say 1% a day. As we move forward from the 9th or the 10th, depending on which side of the world you're listening, we also see on February 10th that Mercury is square to Jupiter. So we have this new moon, and she's embodying this message. She's embodying this energetic exchange between you and the moon, the universe, the sign of Aquarius, however you would like to symbolize it for yourself, the year of the dragon, leaning into the North Node with Chiron, knowing that you're never going to heal this wound all the way, but you're going to take this wound and you're going to transmute it and transform it and grow it into a great whatever. So we move forward from this new moon's message. And when Mercury, who was conjunct Pluto at the top of the week, our mind was aligned with the energy, the planet, the dwarf star of Pluto saying, hey, something needs to shift. And it's big. And Mercury goes, hey, I'm square to Jupiter on the 10th day after the new moon. There's a little bit of a tug of war between my mind and my need to have expansion immediately. Now, mundane, probably more money, right? Jupiter and Taurus. I need a car. I need money. I need these things physically on this planet, Taurus and an Earth sign, to get me to this new place. Mercury in your mind might be reeling a little bit and saying, yeah, I have all these ideas, but what's like the physical ability to like harness it in? So you've got to figure that out and go 1%. And I'm telling you from a personal perspective, I get it. I'm a human. I get it. But on the 10th, Venus in Capricorn is semi-square to Saturn in Pisces. So here's that 30 degree, so it's not sign next to sign. Venus in Capricorn, 22 degrees. Saturn in Pisces, 7 degrees. They're not in friction, but they're noticing. They're noticing a little bit of like pie in the sky dreamer, Pisces. Venus in Capricorn, this is the practicality here. Practicality, dream. Practicality, ability to actually harness dream. They're trying to work it out. There's a little bit of a push and pull here. And that is legit our week ahead. That's our week ahead. There's a lot of self-reflection that's going to go into this week. There's a lot of planning that goes forward from this week. It doesn't mean that this week you write your whole thing. And I want to shout out my friend Shelly, my Scorpio out there. If you're listening, thank you for telling me that your business plan is a living document. Changed my whole life. My friend Shelly, who is a queen out there, Canadian queen, great business owner, great feminist entrepreneur. I was in my feels one day and I just sent her a message on WhatsApp and I was like, girl, I'm lost. I'm beating my head against the wall in business. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And she said, don't worry. Your business document is a living, working document. If you view your business that way, you're not going to get into the corner that way. And let me tell you, I have opened up 2024 and I'm learning so much about business, but I'm feeling this square where I'm like, oh my God, I have all this like potential energy. I have all these intentions to be across the world, across the bridge, across whatever I'm seeing right now. But I'm right here. I'm still at recording on this little app, still loving what I do, but wanting to expand. So I just want to say, like, we all have this potential energy. We're all fucking pushing through it. So I just want to say that because this Aquarius New Moon is truly a gift. A real gift. Even with the squares we're going to see, even with the Uranian square we're going to see, this is a nice, beautiful week ahead. So thank you so much for listening to Trust Your Glitter. Happy Lunar New Year and take care. Thank you for listening to Trust Your Glitter podcast. You can find me on all of the listening platforms. That includes Spotify. That includes Apple Podcasts. That includes Google Play, Podbean, Audacity, Amazon Music, and all listening platforms. Please also check me out on YouTube, and you can find me at trustyourglitter.com. If you would like to schedule a reading with me, you can go to trustyourglitter.com, and I have all my reading links right there on my website. Again, that is trustyourglitter.com. You can find me also on Linktree at trustyourglitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. I don't even know what social media is anymore. Oh, Threads, Facebook. Is there somebody? Oh, I'm even on freaking LinkedIn, okay? I'm putting horoscopes on LinkedIn. If you're at your job right now and you're like, oh, I want to listen to Trust Your Glitter, but I have to wait until I'm off work because I don't want to have somebody see me, you can legit go to LinkedIn and I put all my show links on LinkedIn and they're audio only. So you can just put your little headphones in. You can be like, hey boss, I'm doing all my work. But you'll also be on LinkedIn listening to my podcast. You'll be getting your horoscopes ahead of time. And then when your coworker comes up to your cubicle, or when you're at, I don't know, wherever you're at work, you can just say, you know what? We have a new moon Aquarius on the way. And I know that because I'm on LinkedIn. All right. Thank you for listening to Trust Your Glitter, and take care.